Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/maliciouscompliance, where people conform to the letter but not the spirit of a request. If you're new around here, please do hit subscribe down below so that you never miss out on another video. But for now, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy some malicious compliance. 3 plus 3 plus 1.5 equals all you're getting is half an hour tops. Years ago, one of my employees' clients decided to set up a new office in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I got chosen to spend 3 weeks there getting the new space set up. Also chosen for the job was a guy from another division's Chicago office, Dave. I've never worked with Dave before, but from the start I didn't like him much. He was never less than 15 minutes late, he lumbered like a zombie, and I caught him dozing off more than a few times during the first week on site. Still, he was the closest thing I had to a friend in Fort Wayne. So I invited him out to the bar on Friday for all the company funded booze we could drink. "I wish," he says, "I'm going home and passing out until Monday. The commute has been hurting me." Wait, what? It seems Dave's boss had been a douche. And instead of paying for a plane ticket, hotel and rental car like my boss had, he'd instructed Dave to drive. From Chicago, almost 3 hours away. Dude, that's like totally no bueno. 6 hours a day just driving? Yeah, it sucks. Still, it'd be really good money. That puts you at what, like 70 hours this week? Jeez. Make sure you put it in for your gas and tolls quick though. The last time I had to get reimbursed for expenses, it took him over a month. I could see what little light Dave's eyes held fade. They're not paying for any of that. Hearing that, I put in a call for my boss, who was as puzzled as I was. If he'd worked for our division, he'd be paid for his drive time and expenses at least. And we were both pretty sure it was corporate edict and not something individual divisions could choose not to obey. Unfortunately, neither I nor my boss had any say in the matter, and neither of us were familiar with Illinois or Indiana labor law. So, all we could do was advise Dave to save his receipts for the IRS and complain to HR. On Monday, Dave was late again. After an hour, I was worried and called his cell phone. "I just passed Portage. Making pretty good time, all things considered. I should be there in about 2 hours. Dave sounded perfectly happy about it, so I figured he'd been required to stop into his office before heading out for some reason. "Okay Dave, I'll see you then." When Dave arrived a little after 11, the first thing he did was take a 15-minute break. Long drive, I understand. There was still most of the day ahead of us, and after the break, Dave finally got down to business, booting up his computer. He barely had logged in when he stood up and announced he was taking his lunch. Okay, something was going on, but I hadn't the foggiest idea what. After lunch, Dave finally got around to some work, putting in a good 20 minutes reading an email before stopping to see me. "I'm gonna take my second 15 now, then I'm heading home." What? Dave, grinning like a nut. "Don't worry, I spoke to HR over the weekend." I didn't see Dave on Tuesday. His cell phone was going unanswered, and neither my boss or I had any luck finding out why. We didn't try hard, not our zoo and not our monkey, after all. Ditto for Wednesday, but whatever, he's probably just sick. And then, on Thursday, I see Dave. Before work, at the hotel breakfast buffet. "Dave! I was getting worried where you were a no-show for the last 2 days." Dave laughed a little, and after we'd piled our plates with bad scrambled eggs and burnt sausage, he told me a story. On Monday, the client had noticed him coming in late, doing no work, and leaving early, and called our company to complain. Dave, in turn, was called into a disciplinary meeting with his boss and local HR, who were prepared to terminate him over putting in for 32 hours of unearned overtime the previous week and not working at all the day before. Dave said they were serious too. One of the guys from the building security interrupted the meeting to deliver a box containing the personal effects from his desk. Dave had an ace though. Well, 3 aces. An email from his boss instructing him to drive to Fort Wayne every day at his own expense as a change in work location. An email from corporate HR telling him that while he wasn't required to work overtime, he was required to report any overtime worked, including driving to or from a client. And a page from his division's employee manual, which covered paid breaks off-site. He then informed them that he was not working any more overtime and, after driving 3 hours in, 1.5 hours of breaks, and 3 hours left for home, it left him with just half an hour a day to do actual work. Less, actually, if the traffic was bad. Oh, and that corporate HR was willing to stand behind him on it. He'd just spoken to them before the meeting. It took them about 3 seconds to realise they were screwed. And well, here I am, back in action. And since everything was booked last minute, I'm in a suite with a jacuzzi, and my rental is a damn Cadillac. That was a really good switch around. At the start he was like, oh, Dave didn't seem like a nice guy because he was lazy. But then when he actually spoke to him, it found out that he was actually a really cool dude. So I'm glad that he included that. You want it all? Enjoy shutting down for the afternoon. I work in a children's hospital, and my job is to send progress notes to insurance companies to convince them to pay for children's cancer treatments because apparently that's something you need to do. Most all transactions work the same. I fax the insurance company the notes that we call clinicals, and they fax us back something saying, yes, this patient is approved for those days. Please fax notes again in 4 days. There's one local insurance company that we deal with a fair amount that is just the absolute worst. They send fax after fax with incomplete information on it, with no information, with wrong birthdays so we can't find the patient, etc. They've occasionally sent faxes with no other identifying information than their own file number for the patient. Like, we don't use your system, idiots. They send denials for the stupidest things, usually because they didn't receive clinical, until I called them and say, we sent it yesterday at 2:52 PM. I have confirmation that it went through if you'd like the number. Oh, okay, there it is. The worst though is that one of the main nurses always pluralizes clinicals as clinicals. Ugh. Anyway, we had a patient of theirs here for literally hundreds of days. They typically send approved or denied days every couple of days, but for this patient, we got approved days the first week or so, but nothing since then. I call them about once a week and say, hey, did you get the clinicals I sent? Yes? Then can you fax back approved days? They always say, it's pretty much approved, or I'll send your request to the case manager. But I never hear anything back. I think the case manager that stated this quit, and the case is in just some weird bureaucratic netherworld. More likely, every other case manager doesn't want to do it because they'll have to review everything. This patient discharged last week, finally. She's healthy. And so I needed to know the status of those days so that I can close her out on my list. I call the company and say, this patient that I've been calling about, I really need an actual fax with an actual authorization number so that I can close this and not gamble a multi-million-dollar account on someone saying, yeah, I think she's approved. The woman on the phone still balks, and I say I really need it faxed today. That every day of clinical has been sent over to the past 9 to 10 months. She starts getting frustrated and says she'll call me back. I tell her that's what's been told to me before and no one has called. She says, fine, just refax the clinical for the days you don't have. I've already faxed everything. Well, I don't see it, and it would just be easier for you to fax them all again. I've already told her how many days we're missing, but I was tired of dealing with her and I had time. So, I spent the next 45 minutes going through this patient's chart and putting all of the clinical for almost the past year into one document that totaled over 150 pages. I faxed it to her. My hospital is pretty nice and modern, so although we deal with faxes every day, we don't have a fax machine so much as a program that collects and treats everything like a PDF. Much easier. Apparently, this smallish insurance company still uses paper faxes, because about 20 minutes later, I get a call from someone else. They're asking me to cancel the fax I sent because it's been 30 minutes and it's only on page 20 or so. I say that I cannot cancel the fax because I've been requested to send everything. She hangs up. Another call comes from them a minute or so later, but it's my lunch, so I ignore it and go about my merry way. I get a fax from them later that afternoon that just says, "All days approved, case closed." I hope I ruined their whole day, especially since they're terrible and are apparently too stupid to know how to cancel a fax from their side. That's so stupid how people can be lazy in a job like that. Like, you should have to be on time for that, and it's surely not hard to just fax that if it managed to take them an afternoon. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like, and if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.